Alaikum. Can you hear me? Yes? Can you see me? Good. Alhamdulillah. All right, so hopefully everybody's feeling refreshed. Yes? Okay, awesome. So my name is Amani Kilawi, and it is my honor and pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Ustaz Ubaydullah Evans. How many people here are in high school? All right. So can the high schoolers give a shout out? How many high schoolers do we have here? All right, awesome. So Ustaz Ubaydullah Evans converted in high school. He is IATM's first scholar in residence. He's studied in Chicago. He's studied in Yemen. He studied in Egypt. He's actually the first African American to graduate from Al-Azhar's Sharia program. And fun fact about Ustaz Ubaydullah Evans, he loves fashion. He is a sharp dresser. So let's give Ustaz Ubaydullah Evans a warm Detroit welcome.
Loves fashion. I look like a duck hunter or something like that. But it works. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا فمن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد السلام عليكم. MashaAllah, it is a great honor and a great privilege to be with you this afternoon. The last speech, and I came in maybe a quarter of the way through, was thrilling, it was inspiring, it was informative, and I think conferences like this that give us an opportunity to convene. Yes, we come to buy things that we want. The bazaar is always important. But where the focus seems to be ilm, knowledge, and also brotherhood and sisterhood, I think we owe it to the people that work behind the scenes, often indefatigably, to make sure that we have these opportunities. Me, I'm a speaker, and my wife always reminds me that nobody should thank you to get dressed up and talk. You don't need to be thanked to do that. But the people working behind the scenes whose names don't appear on the program, we have to make sure that we remember them in our dua and that we thank them. I secondly want to extend my salam and also my esteem for all of the other presenters, the panelists, especially Imam Siraj, who we have the great pleasure of being with this weekend. And I'm going to request that you pray for all of them as well. The topic that I was given was walking Quran. And before approaching the topic, I think I have to admit that this year has been a very nostalgic year for me. This year marks the 20th year that I've been a Muslim. I've been a Muslim for 20 years. Which, if you're counting, means I converted when I was 4, you know. If you're tabulating and doing the quick math. But I do remember that journey. You know, it started in the living room of a classmate, his father explaining the shahada to me, Allah yarhamuhu, and me leaping out of my seat, saying, this is true, I believe it, this is true, I believe it, accepting Islam, and then humorously, the two things he gave me upon conversion were a miswak and a kufi or a topi, this wooden stick and this crocheted knitted cap. And I would carry them with me everywhere I went, like these were the sacred symbols of Islam, you know. Someone said to me, you're not Muslim, I would pull out the miswak. You know, it's kind of like a black card. They don't give these to just anybody. Anybody, that's just a piece of wood. Anybody can get that. I will pull out the kufi. They don't just give these to anybody. And something else that I remember, more relevant to the talk, about that early part of my Islam was that I was very wary of over-venerating the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prior to accepting Islam, I was a Christian. And Christians, as we know, they deify Jesus Christ, alayhi salam. So when people would talk to me about loving the Prophet, alayhi salam, and sending salawat on him, all of this made me very, very uncomfortable. And sometimes I would even say to them, you know, I'm new to this, and I just want to focus on God. I accepted this religion to find God, and I want to focus on God. And I remember reading literature at that time about the Prophet ﷺ being a human being. Some even likened him to an envelope. When you take a letter, man, I didn't do that for effect. When you take a letter from an envelope, what's really more important, the letter or the envelope? I remember this being very appealing to me once upon a time. Until I was sitting with one of my teachers, someone I trusted, and he said to me, I want to share a hadith with you about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in this hadith, a companion of the Prophet alayhi wasallam, wa radiyallahu anhu, came to the Prophet and he asked him pointedly, Mata sa'ah? When is the day of judgment? And the Prophet ﷺ responded, Mada a'atta laha? What have you prepared for the hour? And this man, in his candor, in his honesty, in his frankness, he said, not much. Many of us in a similar mawqif, in a similar position, we would have just lied through our teeth. What have I prepared? Oh, I got lots of fasting, lots of praying, lots of charity. People say that I have good character. The man responded with utter honesty. Not much in terms of prayer, in terms of fasting, in terms of sadaqah. وَلَكِنَّنِي أَعْرِفُ شَيْئًا إِنِّي أُحِبُّ اللَّهَ وَأُحِبُّ الرَّسُولَ. But I know one thing. I love God and I love his messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet alayhi wasallam said, Al-mar'u ma'a man ahab, or in another riwayah, Anta ma'a man ahbabt. A man, or by extension, a woman, will be with those whom they love. In another riwayah, you will be with those whom you love. And my teacher looked at me very sternly, very gravely, and I knew that he was being serious. And he said, Ubaydullah, love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not something secondary to commitment to God. It's not something tertiary to commitment to God. It's something primary. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. Say, if you love God, follow me. God will love you and he will forgive you of your sins. Our love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best analogy that I've heard about it, a person said to me, and this resonated with me because my mother is a chemist. If you were to ask, and we had to memorize when I was a child, the periodic table of elements, all of the atomic weights, we had to memorize that stuff. My mother was fanatical with it, straight up. If you see her, tell her I said that. If you were to ask anyone, what chemical element is most important to you? Do you love the most, essentially? How would you look at somebody who said platinum, carbon, tungsten, nitrogen? You would look askance at anyone that responded any element other than oxygen. Because this is what you need to breathe. This is core. This is essential to your being. Love for the Prophet ﷺ should excel our love for everything else. And we love him because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved him because of his character. Now, Aisha radiallahu anha asked to describe the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She said, "Kana Qur'anan yamshi ala al-ard." He was a Qur'an walking on the earth. Or in another riwayah, "Kana khuluquhu al-Qur'ana." His character was the Qur'an. What is significant about this is that this is his wife speaking. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The people closest to him can attest to his good character. See, many of us, our Islam is mostly a performance piece. We hit the door and then we endeavor to fool the public. But the people closest to us, they know differently. This is why I challenge you, the next time you see someone being praised publicly, shoot a very quick glance at their spouse. They're looking like this. You know, once my wife said to me, "There's someone else named Ubaydullah Evans?" They can't be, because these are the people that know us best. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was known for his good character amongst the people who knew him best. Now, just briefly, I want to talk about character. We know that the word for character in Arabic is khuluq, and it's very closely related to the word khalaq, which means to create. A person's character are those characteristics, those attributes, those things that come so naturally to them. It's almost as if they were created that way. This is why the best definition for the term character in English is those things about a person that don't change according to circumstance. That's what character is. And the biggest betrayal of character all of us see on a daily basis is road rage. Because this same person flipping the bird inside of their car going past at 65 miles per hour, mouthing off to people, if they bumped into that person on the street, they would say what? "Oh man, don't worry about it. I don't even like these Jordans. It's no problem, man. It's cool. Don't even worry about it." That proves that the anger they're displaying in the car is not that they really have an anger problem that they need to get under control. This would mean that this is a part of their character. It's just cowardice. It's just expediency. You have a safe distance from the person you're talking to, so you can afford to say things to them you would never say if you were staring directly at them. It's not character. Character are those things about you that don't change according to circumstance. And if you look at the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see things about him that don't change according to circumstance. There's a beautiful hadith of the Prophet alayhi wasallam in which he had in his possession 10 dirhams. He took 4 of them and he bought a shirt. As soon as he stepped out of the souk, a person came to him and complimented him. "Ya Rasulullah alayhi wasallam, sallu ala habibikum." They said, "You look striking in that shirt. Can I have it?" Now, as someone who loves the sartorial delights, don't ever test my adherence to this part of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, because I will probably fail mightily. The Prophet, without hesitation, bila taraddud, took the shirt off and just gave it to the man, literally giving the shirt off of his back. "Here, you can take it." Now he has 6 dirhams remaining. He takes 4 of them and buys another shirt, which is an indication that the shirt he bought the first time was something he actually needed. He was not stocking his spring wardrobe. The Prophet ﷺ did not live with excess. He bought a shirt because he needed a shirt. He gave the shirt away. He needs another shirt. As he's exiting the souk, he sees a jariyah. He sees a woman in a state of enslavement, a woman in bondage. That is what the term jariyah means. And she's weeping. Now, what I find compelling about this story, and it's just indicative. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Truly, you are on an exalted standard of character. Is that this is a woman that the entire society has turned its back on. This is a woman that one will not receive any social points through demonstrating concern for her. This is a woman that if the Prophet ﷺ had walked by her like she was invisible, it would only reflect her invisibility in the greater society. It would mean nothing. He does not have to be concerned about her. This is the kind of person that when you help them, there is no photo op. No one is going to care if you help this person. He comes to her. ماذا يبكيك? What has caused you to cry? Now, what I find really makes me emotional is that many of us that work with people, we're familiar with a term, empathy fatigue, where you just get tired of caring about people. I work in the Muslim community. You don't know how many people come to me. My son is leaving Islam. My daughter is dating. My husband is drinking. My husband is abusing me. My husband is having an affair. You see, most of the complaints are about husbands. And after a while, I just have to shut the phone off and give myself license to enjoy God's good favor of giving me a family that I love. Hey man, look, I just can't. It's too deep. It's too heavy. The Prophet ﷺ, his heart can actually assume all of that responsibility. And he doesn't even assume it as a burden. This is your messenger. After giving the shirt off of my back, Mother Yubkik, she said, I came to the market with 2 dirhams. وَقَدْ هَلَكَ. And those 2 dirhams are gone. The Prophet ﷺ, he says nothing to her about accountability, nothing to her about responsibility. He did not say, what did you do? Were you irresponsible? Were you negligent? He just reached down into his pocket and gave her his last. Even more telling about the character of the Prophet ﷺ, he did not even wait for her to thank him. See, some of us, we do good deeds and we're waiting for a person to put up an Instagram post. This is me, I'm doing this for you. Go ahead and post that. Hold on, get my good side. فَعَالٌ لِلْخَيْرِ. He didn't even wait for her to thank him. But when he got to the sur, the gate of the market, he could still hear her weeping. No empathy fatigue. He goes back. You said you lost 2 dirhams. I gave you the 2 dirhams, but you're still crying. What's wrong? She said, at this point, I'm very late. Even if I arrive home with the 2 dirhams, the men that I work for will be very angry at my tardiness, and they will still punish me. The Prophet ﷺ, no, they won't, because I'm going to go with you. And he's accompanying this woman through the streets of Medina until they reach the place that she lives and works. The Prophet ﷺ knocks on the door himself, Assalamu alaikum. There's no response. He knocks the second time, Assalamu alaikum. There's no response. He's sticking to it. This is what we call in English pertinacity. Some of us, we go to do something good. Hey man, I tried. That's it, bro. I'm out. I did what I could, man. That's it. I'm out of here. No, this is pertinent. No, I'm going to stick to the job until it's done. This is the Prophet ﷺ. He knocks a third time, Assalamu alaikum. Finally, there's an answer, wa alaikum salam, and the door opens. The people say, Ya Rasulullah, you're here? He said, I gave salam 2 times and nobody answered. They said, when we saw you approaching, all of us huddled by the door. And we were just enjoying listening to you say Assalamu alaikum. And if it were not for fear of your leaving, we would have been content to just remain there listening to you say assalamu alaikum. But we had to open the door. The Prophet ﷺ immediately, I appreciate the gesture, but no small talk. This girl, I'm worried about her. I'm concerned about her. They said, Ya Rasulullah, you came here on account of her? That's why you are here. That's why I'm here. They said, Hiya hurra, she's free. She's free. So with 10 dirhams, the Prophet ﷺ had given the shirt off of his back. He had given someone his last. He had remained with that person until their need was taken care of. And then at the end of it, he did not say, look at me. Look at my character. He said, قَدْ بَارَكَ اللَّهُ فِي الْعَشْرَةِ. Truly God blessed that 10 dirhams. You want to follow the Prophet ﷺ. You want to be like the walking Quran. Yes, our ibadah is very important. The wahir, or the outward elements of his sunnah, very important. That you eat with the forefinger and the thumb. Some brothers even do that when they're eating soup. SubhanAllah. That you wear white clothes. This is very important, mashallah. That you start clipping your nails with the pinky finger of the left hand. These are that you lie down on your right side. But if you really want to deepen your attachment, deepen your adherence to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, you will try to adhere to his way in your states of being. To be like the Prophet ﷺ. And this is our greatest means to accessing good character, and it's through love. It's not through intellectualizing. It's through love. Many of us, my teacher, Dr. Sherman Jackson, he reminds me that many of us, even perhaps unknowingly, we live in a post-enlightenment cult of genius, thinking that all about this Cartesian notion that I think, therefore I am. No, you are, therefore you are. And the Prophet ﷺ, he helps us to refine and to shape who we are. So in this effort to reconnect, in this effort to realize who we are in our best selves, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a means to our success, the love of the Prophet ﷺ, and an adherence to his way in the deepest manner possible. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.